the pandemic of COVID has disappeared, but this pandemic is going to go on for decades. That is the pandemic of osteoporosis. It's sorry to say that spine surgeons will build their residences at the cost of the weakness of the patient's bones. So it's a very, very relevant topic. So every elderly patient should be screened for osteoporosis. This has been echoed again and again. And recently, this was put up under the best practice guidelines in the Journal of Spine by a team of specialists, including orthopedic surgeons, spine surgeons, rheumatologists, endocrinologists, etc. So every elderly patient should be screened for osteoporosis. Why is this particular age group relevant to spine? So this is the age when we have vertebral compression fractures, complex lumbar canal stenosis, and adult spinal deformity, where we need to put in implants, and we really need to have good bone structure here. And this is a group of patients where they complain and come to you for back pain. We all know that undiagnosed osteoporosis can have devastating consequences. We see it all the time: pedicle screw loosening, instrumentation failure, Kumel's disease, proximal junctional kyphosis, for which we might require revision surgery. And if osteoporosis is not addressed, again we'll have the same set of problems again. So this group of patients, the elderly group, is already vulnerable because of the baggage of comorbidities that they have: diabetes, hypertension, cardiac disease, renal disease, etc. So they're already sitting ducks, and osteoporosis is like a bull in a china shop. The irony is now, we have good, available, fantastic treatment which can be effective in such patients. The only problem is, we hardly get diagnosed. Only less than 20% of this potential group get investigated and diagnosed for osteoporosis. And most importantly, which my talk is about, the investigation, that the Dexa scan that we use to investigate spinal osteoporosis, is totally misplaced. See, let's go to the basics. What is density? The density of a volumetric substance, three-dimensional substance such as bone, is length into breadth into depth. So it is in 3 dimensions. So what we do is length into breadth. It is based on an AP or a lateral X-ray of the patient. So there the problem lies with the basics. If you even ask a third standard student what is the definition of density of a volumetric substance, it would be length into breadth into depth. So that is what is missing when we do DEXA. Again, there is no scientific reason for using DEXA. DEXA is used because it is widely available and it is cheap. And most physicians are familiar with it. And comprehensively, you get DEXA of 3 structures, that is the radius, femoral neck, and the spine. So it's easy to get. That is the reason DEXA is done. But it is not enough for assessing spine. So there are many pitfalls of doing a DEXA. One is this is quite startling. So this patient's aorta is calcified totally. It is surprising to, it is ironical that this patient is going for DEXA of her spine or DEXA of her aorta. Because if you see, if this patient is going for the assessment of her spine or of her aorta, if you see the lateral X-ray, it's called a picture window frame. Looking at the lateral X-ray, any experienced orthopedic or a spine surgeon would say that this patient has osteoporosis. But you do a DEXA of this patient, it will come out like, +2, +3 because of the calcified aorta. And 40% of adult population which belongs to this vulnerable age group has the calcified aorta. Again, looking at that particular image there, if you see the lateral image, again, it's a picture window frame. It's very obvious that that particular lateral X-ray reveals that this patient has osteoporosis. But once you do an AP X-ray of the same patient, you will see that the facets, the sclerosed facets, the lamina, the thick lamina, because of degeneration, can portray a false picture of the bone density. Again, the other pitfalls are, if the patient is obese, you will get a malicious report because there is going to be a fat overlap. Again, rotation of the patient, like in degen, there will be the overlapping of one facet on the other. This can cause give a malicious report. This is a very interesting paper. So where they did a quantitative 3-dimensional bone density analysis using QCT of all the elements of the vertebra. So that right from inferior articular process, lamina, pedicle, superior articular process, spinous process, transverse process, and the vertebral body. the fattest, the elephant, that is the vertebral body is the weakest, and that is where you have vertebral compression fractures. That is where you insert your pedicle screws, where loosening happens. That is where there is progressive kyphosis. Life is a kyphosing event, as you know. The ratio of anterior column, posterior column sharing is 80-20 in a normal population. It can go up to 95-5 in an aging population. So the trabecular bone is what on which our spine sustains as we age. So the spotlight of osteoporosis when it comes to spine is the vertebral body. Trabecular bone takes the spotlight in the context of spinal osteoporosis, and the precise evaluation of this is crucial to address the burden. Again, optimum trabecular bone density is critical for the success of spinal fusions, because most of us do interbody fusions, and that is the anterior column. So even if we go by WHO standards, so this patient has osteoporotic compression fracture here. At least the bone density should be close to minus 2.5. It shows a bone density of 0.2. And when I did a quantitative CT of this particular patient, it was minus 3.2. Again, another patient with another vertebral compression fracture, the score is minus 1.5. When I did a quantitative CT of the vertebral body, it's minus 2.7. So that kind of disparity one can appreciate here. And we all know the strength of the pedicle screw lies in the strength of the vertebral body. Again, if you're osteoporotic, you have high rates of pseudoarthrosis. This has been repeated. I mean, you can see this reflected in literature year after year. At the same time, there is good correlation between fusion and Hounsfield units. So again, there is a good match between the T-scores that you get on Dexa and a quantitative CT. So that is the reason we came out with this particular paper. So should QCT be the gold standard for detecting spinal osteoporosis? Because our business of spine deals with the vertebral body. That is where we put our implants. That is the area where the patients suffer from compression fractures. And that is what we treat. So the aim of the study was this was the hypothesis: quantitative CT should be considered the gold standard for assessing spinal osteoporosis. So this study was done about 3 years back. So there were 718 postmenopausal age-matched women we were compared. 447 underwent a quantitative CT and 271 underwent a Dexa scan. And this was the age group. They very well matched in terms of age group. And you see the scores. So a comprehensive bone density of the spine, which is the Dexa, gives a very low score compared to the strength of the bone in the vertebral body. So the trabecular bone, the most commonly occurring number is minus 3.8. That is the mode. And when it comes to Dexa, it's minus 1.7. And the mean, it was minus 2.71 in the vertebral body, whereas comprehensive Dexa, it was minus 1.63. A large set of patients belong to the osteoporosis group when we check the QCT, whereas when you do a bone density, a large majority of patients either were osteopenic or they belong to the normal bone density group. That means what we detect with Dexa, which is of no importance to spine surgeons, is just a tip of the iceberg. So the kind of comparison, if you do a Dexa and a quantitative CT in the same patient, is this kind of disparity one can appreciate. And the kind of values which we see in Dexa is usually minus 2.5, minus 2.7, etc. The kind of values, if you get here, if you get into serious business of doing quantitative CT, you will be appalled. You get scores of minus 6.5, minus 5.5, minus 7 all the time. There is a concern about radiation, but a well-done QCT with the right protocol has minimal dosage. So it's comparable, it's somewhere between X-ray and a regularly done QCT, regularly done CT. And this is from a radiology textbook. It is equivalent, the radiation is equivalent to a mix of AP and lateral chest radiograph. Plus there is an added advantage, as I told you, it is precise, it's a volumetric measure, it is a trabecular BMD, that is what we are dealing with when it comes to treating fractures, putting our implants, etc. And again, there is no discordance related confusion. There is no overlap of fat, any other metallic or opaque structure in the body. is not affected by fat, and the radiation exposure is minimal, and the costs in Bombay are almost the same. Again, how do you minimize radiation? Properly calibrated protocol, low dose CT. This is something called as automatic exposure control, the least time that you get your scan in. And again, what are you looking for? You are looking for precision. If there is some degree of higher radiation, that's okay. We do CT scans of our patients all the time. So the take-home message is that we should rethink the application of Dexa to assess spinal osteoporosis. Quantitative-CT should be the practical gold standard. I would suggest you to read our article on this in Spine. There's a lot of reasoning given as to why QCT should be the gold standard, apart from whatever I've discussed till now. Thank you.